Dragon Ball Super has returned after being absent for a week's time, and with that we resume with our heroes patiently having to fall back and observe the actions of Zamasu as he attends on poisoning Kaioshin Gowasu in attempts to further his agenda, while Beerus and Whis gather more information to further prove his conviction on being a backstabber to those who rank above him as we slowly near the end of this arc in what will be a monumental showdown. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my official Dragon Ball Super episode 59 breakdown and review entitled Protect Kaioshin Gowasu, Destroy Zamasu, as we near and approach Dragon Ball Super episode 60 in what will be a showdown between the god of destruction himself, Lord Beerus, and of course present day Zamasu. So before we dive further into this review, guys, just keep in mind this video will contain massive amounts of spoilers, so if you guys don't want anything ruined for you, simply fast forward the video, go watch the episode, come back so we can talk more Dragon Ball Super down in the comments. Don't cry in the comments about being spoiled by the thumbnail or any of that, because nothing is being said or shown that you guys don't already know. Also, be sure to check out the description down below for lots of goodies, updates, and contact information to where we can interact on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That way we can talk more Dragon Ball Super. And again, quick plugs before we begin. If you guys are new to this channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for all latest in Dragon Ball news, updates, what if battles, Xenoverse 2, and much more. Daily uploads and daily content for you all to watch and enjoy. So I thank you so much for supporting the channel greatly, as I always do. Be sure to spread the word about Unreal ENT Gaming. The translations were provided by Herms98 on Twitter, just in case you guys are wondering how I was able to pick up on the dialogue prior to the subs coming out. And with that being said, on to the episode now. I think it's safe to say that at this point we all should have listened to Beerus as to everything he indicated about Zamasu, because everything that Beerus was feeling throughout all of this happened to be true, in which case we kick the episode off with Zamasu wondering why everybody was there in the first place. Although he was kind of curious as to why they were there, he recognized everybody, including the Supreme Kai. He recognized him by face and by name, which again is very, very odd if you ask me, but this episode had a very good build-up, especially towards the very end of this episode, in which case Beerus happened to destroy Zamasu. But nevertheless, we get to see how everything was unveiling, we get to see how they were acting all casual, and Zamasu right off the bat already knew that something was up, but he didn't want to reveal himself as being somewhat of a deceiver. So Beerus, Whis, and Goku decide to take off, with Goku trying to spill the beans right off the bat, but Beerus thumping him and telling him it's not necessary to do that yet, in which case we see how everyone scours out into space until they stop. Now, the reason why they stop in space is because they want to make sure that they're not too far away so they can observe the actions of Zamasu, and we get to see Zamasu pretty much hand over some tea. We see Gowasu eating the rice cake that Whis had given to him, and very casual at first, and obviously enough the god destruction wanted proof as to what was going on between Zamasu and Black in the future. But we also get to pan into the future to see what exactly Black and Zamasu were up to, and we see how they're discussing a plan to wipe out all the mortals, and Zamasu even hints at Black to use the Super Giant Dragon Balls to wish for immortality too, but also stops him right there and says that maybe if he were to do that, his skills might get rusty as well. And Black even vows to Zamasu and tells him that he will be the one to finish Goku off next time, and Zamasu says that even if he does that, he'll have nothing left to raise his battle power with, so they need to keep Goku around just for a little bit for Black to increase. Although Black has a different philosophy, he wants to kill Son Goku right off the bat, no limitations, no hesitation right then and there, but Zamasu keeps telling him that maybe it's a good idea to keep Son Goku around, and we see them drinking tea, and they're discussing things over, very similar to how Gowasu and Zamasu were pretty much drinking tea and eating and discussing things in the past. So the things that were occurring in the past were ultimately occurring in the future, except in the past we see Zamasu talking to Gowasu and drinking tea, and in the future we see Zamasu talking to Black and drinking tea. So very odd if you ask me, but we see Black in his base form. He was not in his Super Saiyan Rose form just yet until he powered up and he pretty much clenched his fist and he wanted to vow revenge and destroy Son Goku. And Zamasu finds it ironic that they kind of needed a mortal's help to carry out the Zero Mortals plan, which was ultimately enough Goku. But we pan back over to the past, where we get to see Bulma talking about how she herself wants to travel into the future, and she thinks that maybe building the time machine out of a different material would last it a lot longer during battle. But we get to see in next week's episode, in which case, guys, it will be groundbreaking because we see Vegeta fight Black once again, a rematch this time, And we also get to see Bulma in the future as well. She's gonna be there to help out, I guess, to see what's going on. And we also get to see Trunks mopping around. He was pretty much doing chores. And then this is the best part. We see little Trunks pretty much come up to him, and little Trunks was pretty much angry that future Trunks was all mopey, and he was pretty much depressed about everything that's happened. And we see Trunks pretty much power up into a Super Saiyan, little Trunks, and we see little Trunks punch future Trunks down to the ground. And after that, he told him to get up. He is a Saiyan. He calls himself a Saiyan. Let's see what you got. And we see future Trunks is very aggravated by this. And just when we thought that we were gonna get to see Kid Trunks fight future Trunks, they pretty much end abruptly. But even with that being said, we see how we pan back to Beerus, Whis, the Supreme Kai, and Goku. They're observing what Zamasu is doing. And Beerus was sensitive about this. Beerus knew something that Goku did not know, in which case Goku even told him that he didn't feel any deception come off of Zamasu, but this entire time Goku is naive. Everyone should have listened to Beerus' guidance because he is the god of destruction for a specific reason. So, we get to see Zamasu, he's talking to Gowasu, and he pretty much gets up and he tries to like stand by him as, you know, Gowasu's eating the rice cake and drinking tea. So, we see Zamasu raise his hand in the air right behind Gowasu, ready to strike him down. And that's when, you know, Gowasu begins to choke on the rice cake. He drinks some tea. Gowasu puts his hand down, and then as soon as, you know, he sees that the situation is stable, he raises his hand, and to everyone's surprise, he kills Gowasu. But the very second that Zamasu killed Gowasu, finally we see Whis step in and do something that we haven't seen since Resurrection F, and that was reverse time. And the very minute Gowasu died, Whis reversed time to the very second that Zamasu was about to stab and kill Gowasu, and we see how they get there immediately, and we see how just as Zamasu strikes Gowasu, he notices that he has a mitten on his hand, and you know, Zamasu begins to back up, and he backed right into Beerus. He backed right into the God of Destruction. I'm getting chills just talking about this because that's how awesome it was. So we see Beerus, and he's like, so, what were you planning on doing there, pal? And we see Zamasu, he's acting all like nervous and stuff because he knows he just got caught. And Whis begins to take off Zamasu's glove via his staff, and we all realize to our surprise that he had the energy blade about to stab Gowasu, and that's when everyone calls him out right there. And that's when even Whis tells Gowasu that, you know, Zamasu's plan the entire time was to kill Gowasu, take his time rings, use the super giant Dragon Balls, and pretty much from there destroy all forms of mortals. That includes Saiyans and humans and possibly even gods. And Gowasu was shocked by this, and Zamasu didn't really care. And we see how Goku tried to step up and Zamasu tried to step up, but then as soon as Zamasu stepped up, Beerus stepped up, and right then and there he grabbed Zamasu's hand, and his final words were destruction, and he wiped Zamasu off of the face of the planet. He destroyed Zamasu right then and there in front of everybody. I'm talking about pure and utter disintegration. Like, he disintegrated in front of Beerus, and Beerus was very, very angry by this. But again, as I said in next week's episode, finally Black's identity revealed. Now this is big. This is very big because finally we as the fans get to see what the heck has been going on. And then just as we see little Trunks and just, you know, future Trunks about to fight, we see how they abruptly show up, and pretty much you know, Beerus is pretty much, you know, bad-mouthing Whis for like having a crash landing and stuff. And but nevertheless, he tells Trunks that with Zamasu destroyed, Black should be gone too. And future Trunks questions this because he said that even after the androids were killed, they pretty much were still around during the future. And Beerus points out something that pretty much got to me. He said that it's different with gods. If gods die, they die. But we see in the episode preview that Zamasu is alive. How is he alive? And we see Black is in base form too. And we see Vegeta fight Black in his base form before both of them transform into Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan Rose. And there is an all-out battle. And in the future, we have Goku, we have Vegeta, we have future Trunks, and we have Bulma combating the likes of Zamasu and Black. So to all my Vegeta fans out there, finally Vegeta is going to have somewhat of a redemption mode going on because he wants to redeem himself for being stabbed. Anybody out there with their own 2 cents in mind want to be redeemed after having to lose a fight or lose a battle. So finally Vegeta is yet again the first one to step up. Now the question is, how is he gonna fare up this time? What's going to be different this time? We see him in this episode training in the gravity room. We see him just fighting off bots and he's destroying a whole bunch of stuff. So has he increased? We don't know. Are they going to bring delivering senzu beans? I'm pretty sure they are, because Bulma was pretty much bitching at Goku for allowing him to forget the senzu beans back in the bathroom. So I'm pretty sure that this time around they're gonna bring the beans. So if Vegeta does end up, by some mere coincidence, by the miracle of God, get stabbed again, hopefully enough the senzu beans can revive them. But this time it's gonna be a little different, because I'm pretty sure that Zamasu is going to be aware that he was killed off in the past, in which case we see that nothing's really changed in the future either, because we see Zamasu is still there. So why is that? Why is Zamasu still there? Is it because of the immortality that he has behind him, or is there something more that we aren't seeing right now? But nevertheless, Dragon Ball Super episode 60 is going to be really awesome, guys. Comment down below and let me know your overall thoughts. Did you guys like this episode? Did you guys hate this episode? What are your overall thoughts on Zamasu not Bill Cosby and Gowasu at first by, you know, poisoning him via tea, but instead he wanted to cut him in half? And I also want to break down the way Beerus stepped up in this, because Beerus said that, you know, if gods die, depending on which timeline, it does affect, you know, the future, but we see that it really doesn't affect the future at all, because Zamasu is still alive. He's still trying to kill motherfuckers, and it's dawning upon me that I do believe that the reason why he's still alive is because of the immortality that he's wished for. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. With Beerus now having to use his immense power to finally put an end to things, which again was really cool, because the way he broke Zamasu down, I believe, was one of the greatest kills that we've seen in quite some time. It actually reminded me of when Gogeta fought Janemba, because when Janemba completely disintegrated, that's exactly what happened to Zamasu. So present day Zamasu is gone. Next week we will finally get to see and have a reveal identity as to who Black truly is. Finally, we've been waiting months upon months to truly find out who he really is, and we see how he's very psychotic in the next episode, because we see Vegeta yelling at him, and we see how Black pretty much has his pupils all teeny dot, he's all crazy looking, and then finally when Vegeta transforms, Black transforms, and then that's when they begin to battle. And again, this episode was very solid. The music was on point. There was a lot of tension, because first we thought that Zamasu was gonna poison him, then he raised his hand, then he put his hand down, and then he finally cut him, and then we see Whis do something that we haven't seen in such a long time. So finally Whis is being put to use here, because we've had a lot of complaints about Whis not doing anything, but finally Whis does something to help out. So I do think that this is definitely going to set up Beerus and Whis being involved in the future, especially Beerus, because keep in mind, if there was ever a reason for anybody else to have any sort of involvement in any situation, it would be Beerus, because Beerus has more of an excuse to step up and finally correct things. Because you have to ask yourself, where's the Omni King throughout all this? Where's anyone else? Where's the Grand Priest? Where are the other gods of destructions? Like, nobody seems to care, nobody seems to notice. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Once again, guys, thank you all for watching. If you guys are hyped for Dragon Ball Super episode 60 dropping next week, comment down below, leave your thoughts, guys. Once again, thank you all for watching. Tune in for the next episode, and I will be seeing you all in the prediction video. Take it easy, guys. Damn, that was a good episode. Peace.